For those of you who already know me, this might be old news to you, but there's a new person on this call. I'm Rachel Augusta, and I've been working with animals now for, I think, 7 years. And I'm a holistic animal practitioner. I work with the energy body of the animal and the immune system of animals. And what I do is try and get the body and the brain to start working with one another so that we can really build up their immune system instead of working against one another. And I must be breathing a lot as I'm talking because Sugar Pants is moving her ears quite a bit. So I'll put a little barrier down here so that her ears stop twitching. And we've got Jennifer. Hi. So let's get started. Does anybody have any really specific questions that you're like, I need some help with this. I need you to talk me through something? Whether it's physical or emotional, whatever is going on, maybe it's around you and your relationship with your animal, their health, a diagnosis, a prognosis. You just need to vent. Maybe you need to vent about something that happened with your animal at the vet or whatever it is. If you do have a question, you can either raise your hand like this, or you can go, if you go into the participants, there's actually a raise hand button, and then I'll know for sure. Sarah, yeah. Okay, so Sarah raised her hand and then Jennifer. So Sarah, I'm unmuting you. What's up? Oh no, I can't hear you. If you know what? You can always type your question into the chat as well, if that works better. I feel like I hear typing. That's right. I forgot that your computer doesn't have a mic on it or something. And maybe while Sarah's typing her thing, Jennifer, why don't we go? And then I'll go back to Sarah. What up, Jennifer?
Hi.
Redhead. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you.
You too.
You'll have to excuse my sniffing. I'm having an allergy attack in the middle of January. Thanks, climate change.
I have allergies too, and I've had this like thing for, and I'm like, what is going on? So yeah, I'm with you.
So I'm just going to have some Kleenex with me here. Sorry.
You know what it is? It's because we have to close ourselves in, and then all of the dust and everything settles. And we get trapped with our animals' fur. We love them, but it all traps everything all into the same room with us.
Yeah. So, well, you know Munchkin.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this before, but she is extremely, she almost has, it seems like separation anxiety, like a dog does. Oh, here she comes. Speak of the devil.
She's like, I want to be a part of this conversation. If you're talking about me, I want to be a part of this. Yeah,
exactly. She's like, hi, you're talking about me. So whenever she can't see either me or my husband, she screams her head off. She can't stand us being behind closed doors. If one of us is in view, but the other one isn't, she'll still scream until both of us are sitting in front of her and on the sofa, and then she can lay down and stare at us. That's all she wants, is us to, she just wants us to sit down and stare at us. It's the weirdest thing. So can you maybe shed some light on this slightly strange behavior? I've never had a cat be so attached to just being around humans constantly. And she obviously hates it when we go away.
Right. Yeah. So God, can you imagine, like, how much does she weigh? Is she like 10 pounds or less?
Oh, 8.5 pounds.
8.5 pounds. 8.5. You have an 8.5 pound being in your house that's totally controlling your life.
Oh yeah, I can't do anything. I try to get stuff done, and she's screaming outside my bedroom door the whole time because I have to keep the door shut because I'm actually really allergic to cats. So she's not allowed in our bedroom. That's the only place she's not allowed, and I know that's not a great thing, but I have to be able to breathe.
Right. Yeah. So there's two things I would say. First is, are you, um, well, let's just talk about separation anxiety. So one of the thing about separation anxiety is like the animal comes with it, right? And a lot of times animals, who have separation anxiety are rescue animals. This is like super common with rescue animals. I mean, it can
Yeah.
happen with animals who haven't been rescued, but I think it's far more common with animals who have been rescued,
Right.
because they're like, it starts off as being like, oh my God, am I safe? Are you going to keep me? Am I your person? And
Yeah.
that's how it manifests. But it gets way worse. It can just like, it starts to snowball, and it starts off as this
Mhm.
little thing, and then it can turn into this really huge thing. And what ends up turning it into this huge thing is actually the human. And like,
Mhm.
all
I
love,
know.
all love, but we end up saying and doing the wrong things to make it worse,
I'm sure.
because that's what we were taught by our parents, and that's what our parents were taught by their parents.
Mhm.
So one thing that we do to make separation anxiety horrible is we focus on what we don't want them to do and why they shouldn't be scared. But so
Mhm.
animals are highly telepathic,
Mhm.
and we think and we talk in images. We're just doing it so quickly we're not aware that we are doing it.
Yeah.
So it's really common with somebody who lives with a person, a cat, a dog with separation anxiety, that we say things like, don't be scared, don't be scared, because
Mm.
we don't want them to be scared. But
Yeah.
telepathy is the middle ground. Telepathy is not their language either.
Mhm.
That's, they have their own language. They're just
Mhm.
reading our thoughts. So you and I, Jennifer, both speak English,
Yeah.
but massive miscommunication can happen between two people who are speaking the same
Oh.
language. So imagine telepathy
Mhm.
being like, it's the third language, it's the middle ground between two people. So we need it to be as clear as possible what we're doing. And when we speak in negatives, we're sending all of the wrong images. So
Yeah.
speaking in negatives would say like, don't be afraid. Like, what are some things like, well, don't be afraid is speaking in a negative. So what kind of an image are you creating in your brain when you say don't be afraid?
Mhm.
You're creating
Yeah.
an image of her being afraid.
Right. The fear is the focus, not the don't. Uh-huh. I get
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like with Munchkin, what are some of the things you're actually like, what do you find yourself on repeat saying to her?
When she does that,
Uh-huh.
when she's screaming outside the bedroom door,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna sound like a terrible human
No,
because I
all love
get.
here, right? But all love here. I've had my cat wake me up at 3 a.m. and I'm like, stop doing this. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing what I tell everybody not to do. Like,
Yeah. Well, at first I just ignore it, but then after 20 minutes, and she gets progressively, more forlorn sounding and louder, and I get angry and I yell at her because I want her to shut up,
right,
and then I feel bad because I
right,
know she's doing it out of angst,
right.
that she's experiencing
Or
some
she
kind of
doesn't
pain.
understand.
Right.
So she thinks the louder she gets, maybe
Yeah.
you can't hear her.
And I just keep telling her, I'm gonna be out in 20 minutes. I'll be out in 20 minutes.
Okay, so
I'm,
I'll be out in 20 minutes is good. Is there though a time frame where the door closes and the door opens? Like from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. This is
uh,
off limits?
yeah, I mean, my husband has to go to bed really early. He works a night shift kind of, so we're closing the door at 7 for him.
Okay.
And then I do yoga in the morning, and I have to do it in the bedroom. It's the only place I can do it. So that's not regular though, not a regular time.
If you could show her, like, or explain to her from 7 p.m. to this time,
Yeah.
we are, this is when the doors close. But you have to be really specific, not just like, well, at night and in the morning. Like, if she knows a clear time frame, that's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a lot easier for her. But
Okay.
like, not just in the bedroom. It's like if she's freaking out when you guys aren't both just sitting down on the sofa, what's being said?
Mm-hmm. Um, when
I
she's screaming at us, when she tries to hurt us to the sofa, when she's doing that kind of screaming to hurt us.
Yeah, yeah. Like, are you
Um,
saying things like, I can't right now?
Yeah, I was like, sorry, I have stuff to do. I have to cook a meal right now. So I'm like, you're just gonna
Well,
have to
and so
wait.
that's staying in the positive, and which is good. So, explaining to her, I'm in the kitchen cooking a meal. But
Mm-hmm.
then being clear, I can come into the living room in 1 hour. Look, my little person's like, stop talking to Jennifer with your hands. Just focus on me. The
Of course,
munchkin twinsy. So,
doppelganger.
but being as clear as you can. But then the
Okay,
second part to this, and this fits in conjunction with it, is Munchkin needs a role in the house. She needs a job.
I gave her one, and
What is
she
it?
does it. When Merlin was alive, it was to be friends with Merlin, which she never took that job.
Right, because you
she,
can't give them jobs that they don't want.
she was like, "No, I don't want that."
Yeah.
But she's her job now is to charge up my Reiki room. So she comes in here and she just sits in the corner. Whenever I might have a client coming over later, it's like she knows when someone's coming over.
Mm-hmm.
She sits in the corner, and sometimes when I'm giving Reiki, she'll sit right on the edge of the door and either face in or out, usually in. But it was out the other day, and I went, I think she's guarding something. She was keeping something out,
Okay.
but she does
So,
have a job.
okay. And so her job is to energetically charge, or is it to ground the room?
Yeah, I guess I just said charge because that's the first thing that popped into my head, because I know from my knowledge, I have heard that cats can like charge up your chakras when they lay on you. Maybe I'm not using the right word, but
They clear them.
yeah. So
Yeah.
should I give it a different word?
Well, I think the more clear you can get on it,
Mm.
because I mean, it would be like if somebody came to you and you were working in your office. Let's say you worked in an office and somebody said, your job is to charge up the room. It'd be like, well, what does that mean?
Okay, yeah, I get it.
Like, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to like turn on the lights? Or do you want me to control the heat? Like, it's,
Okay.
the more clear it
Mhm.
is to us, the more clear it is to them. And
Okay.
then it really helps them. So, like, her job might not be to charge the room or to clear chakras because you're clearing chakras.
Mm.
Her job might be that she helps ground the space.
Mm. Okay.
Like she's holding space and she's grounding it. And then let's say that is her job, then or maybe she's helping ground you and protect
Mm.
you and keeping you feel safe and comfortable during a
Mm.
session.
Mm.
That's a much more clear
Mm.
job, and that's something you could say to her later then, is that, Munchkin, you're so good at helping me during the
Mhm.
sessions. I'm wondering if you would be willing to take that into the rest of the house and just help
Mhm.
keep the energy grounded here.
Okay, I
And
love
you
that.
can do that by letting me cook healthy meals for myself,
Mm.
by letting me work on my nervous system.
Mm.
And if at any point you want to be near me, you can come and sit on the floor. It's actually very grounding for me and very
Mm.
helpful for me to see you sitting near, and it helps me breathe.
Uh-huh.
See, and that's much more clear than just, well, she helps charge the room, because
Yeah.
it's just like us when we work in an office. Like, if somebody said you're an admin assistant, okay, awesome. What does that mean? Well, that means that you need to book appointments. Okay, how do I do that?
Okay, I get
Like,
it.
what does that look like? What is the
Mm.
system? Do you take
Yeah.
appointments at these times? And it's the same, like the more clear, then they really start to step into that role, like, oh, I can do that. And then you reward them when they're doing it. You're so good at this. Because what
Mm.
might be happening is that, so you notice, like, Munchkin's not freaking out when you're in sessions, right?
Mm.
She lays there and she's just,
Oh, yeah. Oh, she only misbehaves when I'm giving my husband Reiki, because I think she knows she can get away with it with him. She tries to jump on his stomach, and which I wouldn't normally mind that, but I really don't want my clients to be accosted by a cat in the middle of the session when my eyes are closed and I don't see her coming.
So,
You
yeah.
know?
So, but the thing is that when you're not, but you've set that rule with her. Even in your
Mm,
mind, you've set that rule.
okay.
So
Yeah.
when you're not in session, she might be like, I don't really have anything going on. I'm
Yeah.
free until I'm free for the next 2 days. So I'm kind of bored and I don't have a purpose. Or like, I-
Mm,
our next appointment isn't for 8 hours. Like,
mm,
so she needs purpose outside. Like, it isn't just that room. And I
right.
don't think it's just that room. I think it's you. She
Mm.
needs, like, it's helping ground you, helping you feel safe. Because I mean, even with you saying like she was keeping something out of the room that didn't come in, I picked up on that. That helped you feel safe.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I went, ooh, that's because it was different. She'd never faced outward before. She always faced inward.
so, so just maybe your agreement with her is you're really helping me ground myself and ground my energy and feel safe and comfortable. But this is what it looks like.
Okay.
This is how you log into the computer and book the appointment.
Okay.
Otherwise they're just like, eh.
Huh? What? Uh-huh.
It would be like if you did hire an admin assistant, but then didn't explain to them what you needed. And then you were like, God, you're really annoying me and you're screwing everything up.
Right.
Right. And so, but it's like, you're just saying, here are the parameters. This is what it looks like. And I'm also really proud of, like, we all want to be validated because that's what it really boils down to. She wants to feel like she has a job in the house and she's contributing.
Yeah.
And so then to give her the validation, and it doesn't take forever then to get through this. It's just until it's just like when you hire an admin assistant, it takes a couple weeks and then they're like, oh yeah, I got this. I could train
Right.
somebody on this. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Let's see what Sarah wrote here. Felix is having bad mats in his fur. Do you have any suggestions for getting them out? Have you ever used a clipper? You got ear pods in and they still don't work? What the hell, Sarah? Yeah, so mats suck. They just suck because you have to be super careful with, I mean, cats skin is like paper thin, and if you cut, I mean, like cutting their skin is just going to be atrocious. So this is what I did with Holly, because your cats get to a certain age and then if they're a certain weight, it's just, a pain. So you can cut into the mat itself. So mats get really, like big and gross, and it actually pulls on their skin and it hurts. So you don't want to leave them there. So cut into the mat itself, like into the thick mat itself, and then you can just work them apart. And that worked like a charm for me. Then I wasn't trying to get down and like cut into, near her skin. So just cutting into the mat itself, pulling it apart. I think some people have talked about using a little bit of like coconut oil and just kind of help, but then their fur gets really super oily. So, but cutting into it actually worked so brilliant for me. And because of Felix's age, is he having arthritis and stuff like that? Do you mind typing into the chat? I'm sorry, your pods aren't working. Um, does he have arthritis? And are you doing anything to like help with that? Because I'm thinking CBD might be really good for him and it will give him more um movement in his, body to help him groom himself. Yes, he's achy. Yeah. You want to know what sucks, you guys? Oh, he gets glucosamine every day for his joints. Glucosamine is also really good. CBD is a painkiller. It's just natural and it doesn't affect their organs, which is really good. But I was going to say, what really sucks is that Jennifer, who I just spoke with, used to sell CBD oil for pets. And the sucky thing is that now a lot of companies aren't selling it for animals because the FDA is putting rules on them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Because it's so good for them. So that would be my other recommendation. Um, is maybe giving him a little bit of CBD to like, glucosamine is good for the joints, but CBD is good for pain. And if he's not grooming, it's because it hurts to get down there, and CBD is not going to impact his organs in a way that a painkiller prescribed by the vet would hurt. Is that helpful, Sarah? Let me know. And then moving on, does anybody else have any questions? We've got awesome, Sarah. And I've kind of been looking for a good CBD for animals. There were a couple that I recommended, and Jennifer, I don't think offers it anymore. Do you? Such a bummer. And then this other company that I really thought was really good because they were organic, they don't offer it for animals either. But if Jennifer knows of a good company, will you type it into because I'm interested as well. My other company just stopped this like 2 weeks ago. Let's see, we have Christine and we have Chloe. Okay, awesome. Let's see here. Unmute, lower hand. Hi, Erin. How are you?
Hi. This is my first time doing Zoom, so can you hear me first of all?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to log on. I'm Chloe's pet sitter and I'm Erin, and I couldn't find a keyboard and I couldn't find how this works. So I apologize for my newbie.
You know what? You're so good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. I actually so we have a family group healing, and somebody came on this last month and they were like, oh my God, I've never used Zoom. I had no idea I could see other people. And I've been using it for a few years. So I kind of forget the like sign up steps to tell people. So you're doing awesome.
Yeah. So I couldn't figure out like, where do I raise my hand? So I finally just found that. So you just checked in with Chloe, the Cynthia's dog last week.
Oh, this is that Chloe. Yeah.
That Chloe. And I'm pet sitting her, like I pet sit her all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm taking care of her. And I guess my question today is just like sometimes Chloe and I she's one of these dogs that I can read, I can hear. And other times I'm like, I don't know what you want, and that's been the case lately, like where it's like, you want to go outside? And so my question is, how do you support, or how does one support an animal who's really struggling with illness that gets in the way of your normal communication process?
Such a good question. This is such a good question. And the word that came to me while you were talking was ritual and routine.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Rituals make us feel so safe. And rituals make animals feel so safe. Like we thrive and our animals thrive in ritual. And the more we can create a ritual, a routine, the safer and better they're going to feel, because sometimes, like you said, it's like communication is getting lost. But, if we were thinking about humans, as humans age and as their, brains start to change, one of the most powerful things we can do for them is keep their rituals. Like my dad loves to go to church on Sunday mornings. If to take that away from him, he would be confused. He wouldn't know what was going on. And so having a ritual with Chloe, I think is going to, especially because, and for people listening, Erin, I have heard so much amazing stuff about you. And Chloe's guardian is a flight attendant. So she's like flying to Paris and all over the place, which can be unnerving to the animal she lives with. So it's so great that she has, that's both Cynthia and Chloe and Buttons have this amazing second caretaker who's really invested in actually jumping on a call here. Like, I just love you. And, but it's because they don't have necessarily set rituals with Cynthia because she's traveling all the time. Setting them with you would be really, really great. So I would just say these are the times we do these things.
Okay.
No matter what, because Chloe's going to feel safety in that. even
And
if she can't communicate with you with that's what she needs.
And like the other day I did Reiki and I sat at the table and lit the candles and did a kind of a ritual that was really more about like what I'm used to. But what does a ritual look like for a pet? Is it the same sort of thing? Or is it something that's more, how would you describe that?
Beautiful. So, well, first of all, we could ask Cynthia if she has any rituals that she likes to do with them. Like, does she
Okay.
sit and drink tea and stare out the window and like give them massages? Like, so one of my rituals with my cat is that we go for a walk in her stroller every morning. And when that ritual is taken away, she actually has a hard time with it. Like, and because I live in Minnesota, we do have to go through an adjustment period during the winter where that's not available because like today it's -9. I'm not taking her for a walk. She's wearing a fur coat. I'm not. That's not happening.
Right.
And so, but it could be a walk. It could be a massage. It could be like gentle Reiki, but at a certain time. It could be like rituals could be like, I'm going to sit here and read a book and sit next to you while I read and rub your fur. Like these things are all super comforting to animals. They're like, oh, I know what's happening. I know what we're doing right now. Like one of my rituals is I spend every morning sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee, staring out the window. And I do it for about an hour. And it's sort of like a meditation for me. And it's my way of just really like getting ready for the day. And it's not like, some people get up and they rush and they're moving around. My morning is about looking outside. My cat Sugar Pants is very aware of this. When I get up, she goes into the kitchen and she sits down and we just stare out the window together. Rituals don't have to be complex.
Great.
It
Thanks.
can be it's just this thing we do every day at this time together.
So it's the consistency as much as we can about schedule.
Yeah.
And so like which is probably easier for me than Cynthia because of her travel and the time change and all that. But if we say maybe, is it good to have some kind of a cue, like time for pets or whatever, like the massage or whatever, even if we can't keep it consistent to the time, but maybe consistent to a daily, like, I can't promise you it's going to be at 8:00 in the morning or whatever, right, but we're going to do this once a day.
Every day we do this thing.
Okay.
This is our thing. And, it's like, I hate to use religion, but it's such a perfect analogy as to why. This is why people fall into religion, because there's ritual and it makes them feel safe. Like people feel safe showing up every week at a certain thing. They feel safe having a prayer. They feel safe. Like even before you eat, you're going to put your hands together. You're going to pray. All those things make somebody feel safe. That's why it's so powerful. That's why there's so many Christians. Like you feel safe.
Okay.
And
right.
It's just a ritual. Like if every single time I have a friend and we, let's say my brother's my, one of my closest friends. Every time we get together, we hug. If I were to greet him this week and he wouldn't offer me a hug, I'd be like, oh my God, is everything okay? Ooh, I feel weird, and it's just a hug. I don't necessarily know when that hug is going to come, but it's the ritual of it. And it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel like, we're still close. We're still friends. Everything's good between us. We're greeting each other. I have a client, I go to her house once a week. And when I show up, she has a cat that's always on the porch waiting for me. It has become a ritual. The few times he hasn't been there, I've immediately been worried. Oh no, is there something wrong with Frankie? And there's nothing wrong with Frankie. It's just the ritual makes me feel safe. So when animals are aging, just saying, yeah, when I'm with you, we do this thing. Oh, good. I love that thing. That thing makes me feel really good. This is how I connect with you. and
Okay.
it's really good for them. Is that helpful?
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's so nice to talk to you.
You too. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to try to figure out how to turn myself off here, but if I don't, you can
I can mute you.
You
Yeah.
can mute me. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I'll mute
Thanks.
you. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let's see here. We've got CJ. Meerkat has been on again and off again. Congestion that never goes away. All things the vet has done haven't helped. So I would be interested in anything that I could do to help him breathe more comfortably, or anything I need to change in the home that might help. He doesn't seem phased, but it freaks me to listen to. I do the Assisi loop 2 times a week now for his ear issue. So that could be helping with any inflammation, but not enough. Yep. Okay. So CJ, Carol, you've been in my world for a long time, but I'm curious to know, do you burn candles in the house? And I should leave this chat window open. So there's a documentary I'm going to recommend you watch. Everybody who's actually on this call should watch it. It's called Stink. Stink is an amazing documentary. It talks about how man-made fragrance really impacts our health and our animals' health. And so humans have 10 million neuron receptors associated with smell. Cats have 80 million. Dogs have 400 million. And so when we have man-made fragrance, and, you know, it can be incense, some of the worst actually are candles, you know, scented candles are really bad. But some candles too, the wicks also have lead in them. So be careful of that. You're going to see those other things that just can't ever really heal. But, you know, so like incense is bad. Candles can be bad. Fragranced candles. Some things that we don't necessarily think about are like detergents, like especially if you have somebody who's really sensitive in the house. Do they have are you washing your clothes with Tide? Are you washing your clothes with, you know, some other things like that would be really, like, it might be hard on a human, but you have a cat that is really like going to really be smelling it. I wash that and try to avoid scents except for my essential oils. Okay, awesome. But can check on detergents and cleaners. Yeah, I would check your detergents and your cleaners. I've kind of figured that you've cleared other things out. One thing we can talk about is how can I not have any pendulums sitting around me right now in this very second? We can see what's going on with this hara. And so the hara is a tube of energy that's going, you know, moves through our body. We all have one. It's the foundation to our house. When there's something wrong with it, when there's something going on with it, it can be split, it can be frayed, it can be knocked out of the body. We can't heal properly. It's like we have a house with no foundation. So things just kind of don't ever really stay put. And so you can be doing the Assisi loop, which is great, with him, but it's not having the full impact that it should be because the hara is not there. You know, so we should check and see what's going on with his hara if you want. And the other thing that's coming up is that might be contributing is that we in our back, imagine looking at your cat or your dog, and along their back it's a freeway. Imagine their spine is the freeway, and the soft space in each, you know, between each vertebra is a traffic light. And traffic lights go out, and when traffic lights go out, it's typically no big deal. But a traffic light that goes out during rush hour in New York City can shut down the whole city. And that's essentially what happens. But what it impacts typically, just like in a traffic jam, it's the end of the line where it's like the worst. It's the most chaotic. And so typically when people talk to me about things that are happening in their animals that are really affecting like the head or the back end, I just assume there might be something also going on in the spine, and think of that as like the end of the road where we're really seeing that. And those culprits going out like traffic lights, they act like wrecking balls. They just kind of come in and break things apart so that it's just like stuff's not working the way it's supposed to be. So the fact that your vets are like, we don't know what's going on, that to me is hara. Whenever somebody tells me that their vets can't figure out what's going on, it's hara or it's a wrecking ball culprit, and or both, but typically the hara. And once we get that sorted out, if it's not obvious, where it's just like, I'm not burning candles, I'm not burning incense, I don't have all these toxic detergents, I don't have any of this stuff, it doesn't make sense, the foundation's not there. So because I don't have a pendulum with me, what I'm going to do is after the session, I will test him and tell you what I find, what I have found, and then I'll just send you a message if you want. Okay, let me see here. You don't sell it, but your parent company still does. Mind Spring Hemp Company. Okay, awesome. Oh, okay. And then Christina also posted cannabis tinctures. Awesome. So Sarah, if you haven't seen those, I would definitely check out one of those two for Felix. I think he would really, really benefit from that. And then CJ, let me know if I answered your question. And awesome. And we can brainstorm too other things. Like if you go back and go, and I mean, something else to think about is like perfume. Is anybody wearing perfume or cologne in the house? Like it just, if somebody's already suffering, it's just really hard for them. So, it'd be like forcing me to stand in Abercrombie and Fitch. Like, no, I can't do it. I'm going to die in here. Okay. Anyone else? I think Christine, do you have any questions? You've been super helpful. But do you have anything you want to talk about with Palmer? Let me know. You can type it in the chat or you can unmute yourself, whatever works for you. And if not, then I think we're good. Answer all the questions. And if this is helpful for you, and if this was helpful, let me know. I'm excited to do this every single month. I've just kind of found that a lot of times people just have the same question, just slightly different. So yeah, awesome. Well, it doesn't look like Christine has anything. I am super glad that you guys jumped on today. The next one's going to be the third Thursday in February. Obviously, if you have questions in between, reach out to me and let me know. But otherwise, I'll see you possibly in February. Jennifer with Munchkin, let me know how that works for you. Sometimes when you find a job for somebody, you have to keep tweaking it until it's like, this is perfect. This is perfect. Sometimes jobs change, or you think like, well, we hired you to be the admin assistant, but you're actually a much better liaison. And so, sometimes you just kind of have to keep, and a lot of it is like watching her, so back to Munchkin, like you might be watching her and being like, actually, I thought you were doing this one thing, but really you're just doing this other thing. And then it really starts to be super golden. Yeah, she is going to want to be promoted often. It totally is. I mean, Sugar Pants' job has changed drastically since she jumped into my family, and it continues to change and shift as our relationship changed and as my work in this world changes. And so, it does change to just like, our work changes, but the more clear you can get on that, the more clear of a conversation you can have with her. And like I said, it's about setting like parameters around it and explaining it to her, and always speaking in the positive. And it would be like as well, going back to this, when I lived in LA, I lived in an apartment building that had a little boy that lived in the building. And he would go outside, he would bounce a basketball against my living room wall. So everything would shake and move. He was like 5. Everything was shaking all the time. Well, I couldn't go out there and be like, I was freaking out. Like on the inside, I was like, I'm dying. I'm dying. This is horrible. There's a basketball being thrown against my wall, shaking everything. And I was having these meltdowns, right? Like we do with our animals when they're doing things that are driving us crazy. I couldn't go out there and say, stop shaking, stop bouncing the ball against the wall, which is what I was going to do. Like I walked outside, marched out there, and I was going to be like, stop bouncing that ball against the wall. And then I realized I can't tell him he can't bounce a ball. He's 5 and he lives in Hollywood in an apartment building. That would be terrible. But then I saw like a brick wall where, near the parking. And so when I walked outside, I was like, hey, instead of bouncing the ball on this wall, can you bounce it on that wall? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. And he walked over there and just started bouncing it on another ball because he wasn't trying to annoy me with the ball. He was trying to entertain himself, but he was doing it in an inappropriate way because he didn't know that it was impacting my life. So a lot of times with our animals, we just have to redirect them. I don't want you to do this. I want you to do that. And that brings me to the next thing I want to say. She's screaming, so you want to do an interview. Right. Is that, what was I going to say? Munchkin got in my head and told me to stop. But, it's that if you don't want them to do something, and sometimes you really just have to tell them you can't do that, that's speaking in the negative. Do that first. I don't like it when you do this. It hurts my feelings. It stresses me out. It makes me feel terrible. And I put like red X's through it. I'll draw a red circle around it with a red line through it. And I'm like, please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. And then, but will you do this instead? And then I show them. So like with Munchkin, you can show her screaming at you. And in your mind, imagine her like meowing and screaming and show how it makes you feel so agitated. Show her that. And put a red X through it and be like, it hurts. It hurts me. Instead, if you want my attention, will you gently come and pat my arm? Instead, will you just come and sit on the floor in the kitchen? I'll see you. And that helps them go, oh, okay. So, yeah. Awesome. Aaron says, I just found the keyboard. Thanks, Rachel. You're welcome. Love the examples to explain the lessons. Yes, great. Okay, Christine, Palmer is getting older. I want to keep his mind sharp. I play find it with him and interactive dog puzzle toy with him. What else can I do? And what essential oils can I use to help? Oh, that's really good. You know what I love? Everybody on this call, you're also thoughtful and love your animals so much, which is why you're in my world. That's really good. Like playing that interactive stuff is really super good with him. That's perfect. A really good brain essential oil. Brain Power is actually a really good essential oil for brain. Brain Power and Clarity is really good. And those two came up. Sacred Frankincense is really great. But I would say Brain Power and Clarity, And so for those of you who don't know my work in this world, I do not promote essential oils with animals unless you're using Young Living. Young Living is the only company that lists on their website that they are safe to use with animals. And that's what's really important. And I've had training with veterinarians and other holistic practitioners, and they're the ones that I feel really safe using. But just like with anything, less is more. So with animals, really less is more. So if you were to get and Christine's gone through some of my bigger, intenser classes. So if Christine, let's say you were to get brain power or clarity, just taking a little bit on your finger and rubbing it on the back of his ears would actually be really helpful. And you wouldn't have to do it every day. I would say like a couple times a week. And but that would be really helpful, and it's really helpful for us too. So if you want to put a little bit on you before you go into a meeting, that would be great. Jennifer, awesome. You got to run, no problem. And Christine, yeah, I would just say keep doing that, and then I would do brain power and clarity. Yep. And then does anybody else have any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, Sarah, I see you're here. I don't know if you do. You're welcome, Christine. All right. Well, have a really great rest of your afternoon. Unless, Sarah, you want to chime in if you do have a question, now or never. All right. Awesome. Well, have a really great afternoon, everybody. And I will either see you next month or at, or if you're in my family membership. That's the first Monday of the month. So I'll see you there. I will talk to you later. Bye.